All right, hello and welcome to my Market Open live stream. And let me just get the word out that I'm in here. And oops. So it was a pretty eventful, eventful evening, just in terms of what happened after hours with. Oops, sorry. Let me get some audio here. So what happened was Snap. Snap kind of really tanked things for the market in general. And in terms of why that happened, it's not like Snap really is, has that big of a market cap or anything like that. But it was just the kind of the nature of the news that they shared, and talking about economic conditions being maybe worse than anticipated. And it's just kind of a skittish market that's looking for excuses to sell off. So that kind of can come into play as well. Hang on one moment. Okay, well, my apologies. Had a cat in here that have two cats. One never shuts up, so had to get rid of him. Okay, so what a couple things I'm looking at today. You can see the indices. You got QQQ down 1.62%, SPY 0.97%. In terms of where most of the losses happened, it did a lot of it happened in the after hours, and we're kind of going back up to this excuse me this after hours low. So we'll see where we go from here. Definitely could drop significantly more during the day, and you can see it already has pretty much given back all of the gains from yesterday. So the Friday levels on it are going to have some significance for sure. All right, so let's take a look at the flow, and there actually were a couple of interesting things in the alerts yesterday that kind of match up to some of what I've been seeing. So this alert here, this JWN, this is Nordstrom, and like many retailers, has just been really beaten down by just kind of the overall conditions. Let me take a look at it on like the hour chart. And so as you can see, it had a pretty significant drop here on May 20th. Tried to recover a bit and then fell further. And they have earnings coming up, much like Macy's does. And JWN, the last time that they had earnings, did exceptionally well, and went basically like 20 to almost 28, and dipped, went higher, tested 30, and then has really given that all back. So we're kind of right back where we started. So that's the chart story for a lot of these, but in particular, what kind of gets my attention here is that this is a bullish put in June. And I'm seeing that with some other retailers as well. I've seen it with Gap. I've seen it with Macy's, and just selling these puts in June, and the fact that they're selling this put that runs through earnings is kind of interesting too. So the 17 level for JWN is something that I want to keep an eye on, and overall in terms of that retail sector. I think the month of June could be fairly interesting to see some recovery and reversals. Not quite yet. I don't think I would enter. I'm not going to enter any in this sector for a bit. I want to see what Macy's earnings do, and I will react based on that. The big winner from the alerts was a snap put. I mean, interestingly, it was a sold put, so the whale here is going to have a really, really rough time with that. The damage on snap is significant, to say the least. It's down 33%. So that is really extraordinary, and it has taken a lot of stocks with it, including pins. Pins down 16%, hitting this after hours low, and I can go to the 3 minute instead. You can see it pretty clearly here. So hitting this level, and I don't have any detailed TA on pins or anything, but I'll be curious what some of the strikes come out at for pins as the day opens up. And this actually did have, they had a pins alert too, I think. If I go down here. Yeah, there it is. And that was also bullish, but this is just the whale algorithm at work. And you can see here, this is basically the same buyer. You can tell by the time. So some whale had a bullish bet on pins that is not going to go very well this morning. Okay, so those are some of the alerts that catch my attention. I definitely think you could see a pullback in BAC today. The banks ran really hard yesterday. Overall market conditions could bring them back a bit. Not much happening pre-market, but certainly you could see it give up some of these gains from yesterday if the market feels like selling off. Okay, so let's get into the flow dashboard a bit. And one sector that I really like, basic materials. I like it a lot in conditions such as this, especially. I had a call trigger on X yesterday that worked really well. So let me call that up here. Okay, so here's where were my call and put triggers on X. You can see that it in the pre-market, in my pre-market live stream, I think before I lost power yesterday, I did talk about how in the pre-market it was kind of moving towards that trigger. So what ended up happening at open is it did in fact break through, and not quite enough maybe for confirmation. I certainly did have a 3 minute candle close above it. So had you entered here, you would have dipped back down a bit. If you wanted to just kind of wait out the market open and just get a retest, you certainly did get that. And once it retested, it dipped back down, touched again, and then really took off. And this is just an example of what these triggers can do, they do kind of give you a key level, and from there it's just kind of like, what kind of trade is this? How do I want to manage this position? If if I'm particularly bullish on a stock just based on the option flow on it, I probably won't play weeklies. I'll go a little further out with the contracts, and then enter on the trigger, and I'm ready to weather some of these retests, looking for the bigger move like we got here. And so that is essentially what I did there. Was I just grabbed a couple monthly calls, and just kind of waited it out. And as you can see, X is dipping back down a bit in the pre-market. Nothing too extraordinary, but we'll see what happens in the open. As you can see, basic materials had a really good day yesterday, with a lot of stocks over 4%, some over 5%. AA is another stock I really like, that you can see is kind of giving back a bit. And I'll be interested to see around the $62 level if it indeed wants to respect that, because if it does, and so if it does want to respect this the 62 level, which you can see has some significance back here, and the longer it can kind of build up support there, the more explosive a move you can get to the upside, which is ultimately what I'm looking for in AA. And it, in terms of its flow here, I think it's a large cap. So there we go. So 75 for July had some significant activity yesterday. 65 for June, and that's kind of the path I'm looking for in terms of the the bearish chains in the sector. See if there's much here. We do have a bearish chain at 50, so there are some bets to pull it back. If we go to the intraday analyst and see what AA is up to here. All right. Yeah, and these are the two chains I just saw in the dashboard. Well, the three actually. So you have these out of the money puts that are bearish on it. Most of the activity in the highest volume chains is bullish, and this 715.75 would be the particular chain that would have the most appeal to me for AA, because it's got some time to it, and you could just kind of let it play out. If your thesis is we're going to hit an uptrend on it, then this gives you some room to do that, and you're not quite as subject to some of the day-to-day movement on the stock. Okay, so that's that. Going into some other sectors here. How do I approach a day like today, where I was looking through in like technology, and there certainly are some bullish setups, some bullish opportunities, but tech itself is is down in the pre-market. And so you have Apple down 136. Didn't really give up a lot more in the pre-market though from yesterday. Google as well, and you can see them. Most of them are kind of taking those pre-market lows and they bounced off of it. So one thing I would be watching is to see if they want to break below that, or potentially move higher. And a drop of 1.5% on some of these isn't really that significant. But today, even more so than normal, I might be inclined to just sort of wait it out and see what the flow wants to do on these stocks that took the worst of it last night. Are really anything that has a kind of connection to advertising as part of their whole business model. And so mostly like Facebook, down 8%. We've looked at Pins, we've looked at Snap. So those are some that are really really struggling, and probably likely to go lower, and can kind of sour things for tech overall, certainly. But in terms of what I saw here in some of the chains, I've mentioned this before, but with this tech in particular, if you just put all caps, you're just going to get a bunch of Apple, and that goes for the bearish chains too. Some Apple, some AMD. Now here, this is kind of interesting. So Marvel has earnings coming up, and we have a bearish sold call on that. Not sure that I'll be playing any earnings on tech this week. Okay, so then we get into the large caps. We have sold puts on coin. WDC has been popping up a lot. So sold puts at 57. Let's take a look at WDC. Okay. Oh, excuse me. So 57 is, just about, kind of where it sits right now. And on the day chart, had this big move up in of earnings in early May. Kind of a rare for a tech stock to have made a move like that. I think they had some news as well, and we can see it kind of sitting in this zone here. So this is an area where WDC could build up some support, and you could easily see a move to 63 to 65. So I want to see if, in the intraday analyst, WDC has some strikes that kind of match up to some of these numbers on the chart we're seeing. Okay, so that 57p you can see is really high volume, and it looks like what happened is you have the same whale selling a call and selling a put on it, which kind of makes it a little bit less interesting to me as a potential. And we do see a lot of bearish activity here. So again, I'm doing this live. I hadn't even looked at this one. So WDC, I might actually steer clear of for now. The chart's in a good spot. I would want the flow to pick up. I'd want to see calls in the 60s start popping up. All right, so I looked at coin, and coin has been seeing some significant volume. Here is that sold put, that deep in the money sold put I had seen, and we can see some mixed flow on some of these contracts here. ADC, with the push on ADP, I'm kind of assuming that ADC is going to be the same whale as well. And let me just see here if under large. All right, so there's a bearish contract here. And I mean, this single whale is 7.1 million, kind of took up really the entirety of the flow on that. So let me get into the live flow here, see if I can find this trade. And we're going to up the filter a bit to 1 million. Oh, I think I have to change my, yeah. Okay, here we go. And I'll need the bid side as well. Okay, looking for June 17th. All right, so maybe not one whale, but okay. So here they are. Oh, here it is. This probably is the same. Yeah, it's the same whale. You can see they broke up the transaction a bit, and okay, here it is. So they're selling a call and they're selling a put. The selling the call, or I'm sorry, they're buying a call. Oh, okay. Well, that changes things. So they're buying a call and selling a put. So this is a bullish bet, and we take a look at the profit calculator on it. We can see where they're headed, and got the current price here. So really any move to the upside is going to be a significant gain on this. Even a kind of modest move to 78.50 is going to make this a really, really successful trade. And because they're hedged on it, and we'll get into coin here. Well, I'm sorry. They're not very well hedged on it. So they're on the hook for some, pretty significant losses if it were to dip. So at 58.50, they'd be down 10% on it. You can see coin is kind of holding its own here. I've got this line on it at 61.68, and it's touched it a few times, hasn't really broken below since it had that kind of earnings recovery, and so it dropped a bit, but again, I mean, crypto stocks aren't really taking the worst of what happened for the whole snap debacle. So we're just going to have to wait and see what the larger market wants to do. But a trade like that on coin is definitely promising for to see whales stepping up to that degree. Now on this one, which they didn't group these together, but this is the same whale, I would imagine, just kind of the nature of the trade and the time happening. So they had two trades here, and this one is a little different. It's a sold call and a sold put, and we'll see what the profit potential here is, so as you can see on this one, the greatest gains on it are going to come from a fairly modest move in price in either direction, although it is a trade that's leaning bullish. If it were to go too high, they would lose money on it. So they're looking for a move into the 70s reasonably, I think, is what you'd be after on it. So they have, but they do have that other trade as well. So if it were to just really take off, they would probably close this one out and let the other one ride, and see what they can get out of it. So coin is definitely one that I'm keeping an eye on. There are downside scenarios to coin, of course. You do have that looming, that pre-market, or sorry, that earnings dip that it took, and I, can remain bullish on it overall as long as it respects this level here. I will be, okay with playing calls on it. Below this, I think we end up significantly lower. But bounces off this line have been good for me, and that's kind of what I'll look to see continue. You can see it's, again, I'm not a TA expert or anything, but it's getting a little tight. The bounces aren't as large lately, and it's just kind of coiling up in this range. So coin's going to make a decision, and we'll see if it's up or down, and plan accordingly. Okay, so that'll conclude my pre-market stream. Thanks everybody for attending. I do plan to be back on in the after hours, so you can look for that around 2:15 Central, 3:15 Eastern. And everybody have a great trading day, and take care.